Hello everyone. Today we are back again with Meenal, and today we have a special guest, Kanika. So she's been associated with us and the whole MPFY family since quite a long time now. So today we will look into her journey and understand how she has experienced this beautiful, miracle-filled world with us. So Kanika, over to you now.
Yes, so my journey, I wouldn't call it journey, but my inclination towards the word spirituality or energy started when I was very small. I mean, the in scientific terms, energy quite intrigued me, looking for how the solar system works and what is beyond, and the questions like what is life and what after death. So all those sort of questions used to come to me when I was a child, and I would also get a sort of peace when I would sit in temples. Like whenever there was something happening in the house, I would run away to the Shiva temple, and that's where I experienced deep peace. As a child, I did not understand what energy really is, but the journey kept on, getting aligned, where I started reading a lot of spiritual books, a lot of spiritual literature, trying to understand, dig into the meanings of what all of this is. And then I got into multiple spiritual practices as well, like one after the other. I was going after, practicing something and yet not feeling satisfied. I mean, as in, like, even after practicing for a couple of years, it did not make me feel that the void that was always within, that wasn't getting, filled. So after multiple practices, I got to know about Meenal from someone, and it is so funny that when I got to know about her, and when I looked at her and read that tagline, "Life Coach," I completely dismissed it, because the word spirituality was all that I was looking for, and I thought that I don't want to go, speak to somebody who is a life coach. And and yet there, somebody told me that there is a YouTube channel of hers called MPFI, and there are a couple of videos. So I went through the videos where she has a 1 day workshop, and the positivity process, and how to take guidance. So the moment I tuned into her frequencies, and I followed the process of how to take guidance, poetry started flowing. And
Wow.
that's when I was like, oh my God, what is happening? So the old mistrust, all sorts of doubts and fears started coming in, that, oh my God, initially I thought that it is me who's writing all of that stuff. And yet there were words whose meanings I did not know. So I reached out to Meenal. I sent her like a couple of pages which I had written, and she refused to read them. So so that is how the journey started. And when she announced her 30 days programs, I was pretty excited. And when I joined that program, the Expect Miracles 30 days program, and from there the journey really started. The all this while I was pretty much aware of what I was feeling, but nobody taught how to let go of those feelings. Nobody taught how to release those feelings. That's what I learned from Meenal. Nobody taught us how to connect to the which is money frequency, or the, and how Meenal says that my job is to lead you to connect with the guru within. So that is what has really happened, which I did not find in any other path. So for
That's
me,
amazing.
yeah.
So when you say poetry started flowing, so could you just explain like how was it, like how could poetry flow through you yet not come from you?
Okay, so I used to sort of write poems,
Huh.
but I know the kind of poems that I can write. When Meenal teaches the process of guidance, she's teaching us to be a channel. She's teaching us to connect to money frequency, the father frequency. So when I say the poetry flowed through me, it wasn't me who was writing. It was, my connection to the frequency of money, and through that I became a channel. I was only a channel, nothing more. And it was, as if The pen was writing on its own, which nowadays, most of us understand or know what auto writing is.
Beautiful.
So,
Because that's exactly how Amlan's, journey began as well. He just heard,
mm,
he just heard from somebody, the name Meenal, the name Mani, and the next thing he knew, he was writing poetry as well. So I do remember receiving a whole bunch of poems from Kanika. I did read those once. I read all of Amlan's poems. I didn't read yours. So much fun. Yeah, Amlan, you were saying I connect,
So,
I really.
so okay, all right. So for those of you who can't really understand how auto writing works, it is you who's writing it, but the frequency from where you write those poems is something different. It's not your usual frequency, which comes from, let's say, a mix of feelings such as, fear, worry, or anxiety, or anything that you're experiencing in the moment. But when you actually tune into this beautiful frequency, it holds a lot of abundance, it holds a lot of joy, fearlessness. So it's your mind at work, but it's tuned into a different frequency, which makes it like a lot more beautiful, and it makes it a lot more cosmic. So that's what we're talking about when we say auto writing.
So amazing.
फिर क्या
Yes,
हुआ? What next? What happened in your journey after, this whole process of going through the 30 days and experiencing these auto writings and guidance and all? So what
so
happened then?
what 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 really started was when I started receiving these poetries, a lot of fear set in. It I wouldn't say that fear really set in from outside, but it was already there. And this was also not the first time that I was experiencing higher energies. It did happen to me 3 years before I got to know Meenal, that the energies of Shirdi Sai Baba would come and I would get scared and run away. So, I wouldn't be able to connect to the energies. It was more of fear that was, my own fear that was coming out, my own mistrust that was, sort of coming to the surface. So it was just constantly making me run away. And when I started EM30, that's when Meenal made me understand what was going on, and that's when I was able to start releasing the mistrust that I was holding in my energies.
Perfect. So
and it's
that's
so
so amazing.
beautiful. I have to add over here, because through all the spiritual practices that Kanika had been through, not only had she not released the mistrust, but also there was a lot of expectations of what a spiritual practice needs to look like. And there was so much of this knowledge from outside. When we read a book, we make impressions of what a spiritual journey needs to look like based on somebody else's experience. And so, this is, for example, me telling you what a mango tastes like. And I'm writing pages and pages about what a mango
Yeah.
tastes like. And you will gather something as your impression of what it should taste like. So what happens is, when things happen to us, when they're getting experiential, they might or might not look like what that other person's journey is, but things are happening to us and we can't understand them. So the one place where I understand my role is to keep sending you back, not to me to ask, okay, what is this or why is this happening to me, but back to yourself, to your higher self, that higher frequency of yours, which holds all the answers, where you will be able to solve. Even the need to solve goes away,
Yeah.
but you can actually get to experience what that mango actually tastes like. So it's not so that I understand is my role. We hear from everybody saying, okay, I did this practice, I did 400 hours of meditation, and here I sit in peace. Now you go ahead and do 400 hours of meditation, and you might get to this place. And I have understood only one thing, that if everything is energy, I might have gotten there with 400 hours of practice, but whatever I have received is now in my energy, and I can simply share it with you. Because energy doesn't have barriers. Energy is not, a body experience. Energy just works on frequency. And so with frequency sharing, my frequency, when I share with you are going to start receiving the kind of experiences that I'm having, and it won't take 400 hours of meditation. And that is why many people who've been through, for example, Kanika has been through many spiritual practices, but when she came here and she said, where do you sit and meditate? And I was like, everywhere. It's like, no, where is your corner? Which direction do you face? So how many limiting factors do we put around us? And I said, no, you take my frequency, then you will be meditating everywhere. When you're in the shower, you will be meditating. When you're sitting and, brushing your tooth, brushing your teeth, you're with, you're sitting on the pot, every single place where you are, you will be in that space within. And so you don't need to do something special. You don't need to sit upright. You don't need to, have your hand out like this or be sitting in this position. No, you can be doing anything, but the space that you are in meditation at all times, because in my frequency, that is the answer frequency. The answers will flow to you at all times. So this is the fun part of connecting to my frequency. And that is what Kanika, I know that Kanika really liked that about this practice. So over to Kanika again.
Yes, to continuing with what Meenal said about the theoretical knowledge that I had acquired, a lot of theoretical knowledge about spirituality. And so there were a lot of beliefs or programs also that I had made, rather, from those texts. Something like, that a lot of money is a hindrance to spirituality, or probably marriage or XYZ, a lot of things which the kind of text that we read in the spiritual books, that you need to be in solitude to be, able to pursue your practices. So I had to let go and release a lot of beliefs from there. And after, couple of months of practicing with Meenal, the tools that were given in Expect Miracles 30 days, when I connected to the guidance deeper, I also sat down and asked those questions in guidance, that this is what I have read, this is what I have understood, what is the highest truth? How does, money see it? How does the divine sees it? And I would get when I would receive the divine perspectives, they were completely different from how I had understood all those things earlier.
So amazing.
That's so amazing. Like we are having an experience that's worth, let's say, 1,000 books, but we're just basking in the fact that the knowledge is not even required. When we get the answer, the question like ceases to exist. So that brings me to this question: what exactly are we looking for? Are we looking to answer specific questions, or are we looking to be in the frequency of answers at all time? And I think we go for the latter because, from a place of knowing, there is no question to begin with. So there is no journey. And wherever we are in that very moment, that is our entire journey. Is that right?
So beautifully spoken, so beautifully said, so beautifully summed up, that there is, when we are in the frequency of answers, we actually recognize that there are no questions. Whatever is, just is. You've heard this many times. Whatever is, just is, be in the moment. But just listening to somebody and saying, oh, be in the moment, and you don't know how. So all of this has to be experiential. If you can't experience it, you don't even know what does this term moment mean. The term moment itself is like, what does it mean? How can I be in the moment? I'm not living my life right now. I have to do this, I have to do that. I'm a CEO, I'm a janitor, whatever it is. We have so many different roles that we are playing. Somebody's a parent, somebody's this, somebody's got a whole workplace to manage. How can you live in the moment? So you actually don't even understand when you are looking at it from the outside. When we're sitting in the frequency of questions, then all of these questions, how to live in the moment, how can you let go of this, how can you do that? But when you are sitting in the frequency of answers, all of these questions of how, why, when, everything already becomes quiet. It
Hmm.
becomes quiet because you are the frequency of answers. You already know that right now, in this moment, you are living it. You are living the moment. And so, how to live it? It's already happening. Now, it's part of your experience. And so, once you recognize that, then you simply get to expand it. With your awareness, you can expand how to live in that moment. So we experience it once, and then we know we've tasted that mango.
Hmm.
Now we can keep going out and getting that mango again and again, and eating it again and again. So that's how beautiful it is, that once you experience the frequency of answers and you experience what it entails, it's not like you will get answers to everything. Yes, you will, but the need to get answers itself, it vanishes.
That makes me think like we already experience this almost on a daily basis, like what it is like to be in the now. But for someone who's just, starting out, who's just like Kanika went through a lot of books, who's probably reading a lot of books about spirituality and how we conventionally perceive it, what would you recommend to such a person, if they have to experience this oneness with the moment of now?
I will actually let Kanika answer this one, because she's been through so many different
Mm.
practices, and then she started to do this one. So Kanika, what would you recommend to people who are just starting out right now?
How beautiful the question is, that in one of the practices where, being the very first time when I could experience the now moment was when I was sitting and observing the breath. However, we understand that, uh, we can sit for a couple of hours maximum, and sit observing the breath, but this is not possible throughout the day. Sitting and observing, the sensations on the body, sitting straight, not moving, this is not possible when we are living our lives the way, amidst the world. So I needed something else. And when I started receiving guidance from money frequency, uh, there were tools that were given. Sometimes the simple tool was chant Om Mani under your breath, and that was pretty easy to do. That was a pretty easy tool. And also, like how Meenal says that, and even you said that it is the frequency of answers, wherein we are sitting in the frequency of questions. So initially, when we start taking guidance, we would always find ourselves, sitting in a particular frequency, whereas the answer is coming from a completely different frequency. We do understand that we are not the answer yet, and that is why we've been told to, read through those lines, read through the poetry or whatever guidance we've received over and over, so that we can match the frequency of that. However, when with the as as you move along the journey, and as you, keep doing the candle process, like how Meenal has taught, the more emptier you become, the more still you become, and your own frequency starts getting higher and higher. And that is when, many a times, it started happening with me, that the moment the guidance was received, I would switch, no, which wasn't happening earlier. There were times when I would get, has started, this has been happening in the last couple of months, that in just visions, there are shifts. I am not imagining or visualizing something. Something is just shown to me and the shift happens. Something that, is written through me and the shift happens, which wasn't happening earlier. So being in the now, when we started the journey, being in awareness of our own emotions, our own feelings, this is what the program started with. This is what Meenal teaches all the time. What am I feeling? Ask yourself every moment, what am I feeling? uh, so this question was, constantly bringing me to the now, to understand with, from what energy am I coming from. And that's the time you release that energy, you release that emotion, and you switch to, another frequency. You switch to Meenal frequency, you switch to money frequency. And Meenal has also said, if you feel that joy is lacking or abundance is lacking, or a more lighter emotion is lacking, you can take that emotion also from me. So, let's say if I'm sitting in a lot of sadness, and in this moment I recognize that, I release it and I take joy. I create joy. This is what I started doing. And so the feeling of it, the feeling of sadness, I mean, this is my own experience, that I was taking energy from Meenal when I started, but I did not know, for example, how joy felt like, or how the love for self felt like. So I would also take those, I started taking those feelings from that energy, you know. And then when I started feeling that, the 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 polarity experiences, that is the sadness or the fear, they started, you know, diminishing each time more and more. And also, now it is, for me, more about the connection with the higher frequencies, the connection with the father frequency, the connection with money. So my awareness from moment by moment to what am I feeling has shifted to the moment of awareness of love, that loving energy with money. So I want Meenal to also add to this, because from what I've learned from you, that be in awareness of what you're feeling. Now this has shifted to being in awareness of the connection. And with that, the lower energies, they don't come at all. Most of the times they don't.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
So, yes, so as Amlan asked, what would be your recommendation for somebody who's just starting out? Whether somebody is just starting out, or whether somebody has been in this journey for the last 20 years, I have only one point of awareness, and that is that you keep asking yourself this question: what am I feeling? Whether you are starting out today, it's your first day, but the minute you are able to understand, what am I feeling? Oh, I'm feeling sadness. I'm sitting in the sadness frequency. Now, in the moment of now, in this moment, you know which frequency you are operating from. The minute this knowing is there, now a choice opens up for the next moment. Do you wish to continue in this frequency, or do you wish to stay where you are? And so, again and again, when people come to me and say, but this person made me sad, or that person made me sad, and I say, no, what are you feeling is the crux. Because if you are having an experience, you are the creator of that experience. Your frequency of sadness, the one that you hold, is actually creating these kind of experiences outside. And how powerful are we, that we are the creator? So if my creation so far has been of sadness, I didn't even have a choice, because I didn't realize it was my creation. And then as soon as I ask this question, what am I feeling, I understand what have I created an outside event from. So for anybody who's joining or who wants to start their journey, just looking within with this one question. It's funny that you say, look within, but people don't tell you what is it that we look within for. So here is the
Exactly.
question. Here is the question. You look within to see what energy, what frequency, what emotion. It's all the same. The words are different, but simply look within to see what emotion are you operating from? That will begin to unravel anything that's happening outside, because as within, so outside, not what outside, so within, it's actually as within, so without, right? So when we understand that as we look into our own emotion, now we have a choice. So something that I would recommend to a brand new person again, firstly recognize the frequency that you're operating from, and then as soon as you recognize, now you have a choice to release it. So for that, I teach the positivity process. It's a simple process just of awareness, that I have a frequency and I can shift it, I can release it, I can let it go. It is in my hand to hold on to it, it is in my hand to let it go. And that is the second part. The third part, let us say if you are sitting in sadness and you've released that kind of bandwidth from your energy, you've released some sadness from your energy. Now be aware, what are you filling it up with? And for that, I offer my frequency. So as Kanika talked about, if you want joy, it's in my frequency. If you want masti, abundance, whatever, I am simply flowing with all of this. And I can't say that I gathered everything consciously, but yes, I did come from a lot of inner abundance in this particular life. I was made to recognize it. And then I was told, go share it with the world. And so I share my frequency with everyone who wishes to take on to it. Am I falling short on that? No, absolutely not. After all, mine is the frequency of abundance. I will never fall short of anything at all, even as you begin to receive more and more abundance. So for somebody starting out, look within, recognize the emotion, release it, positivity process, or any other process that you feel like releasing it with, and then simply, fill it up with a frequency of your choice.
That's so beautiful. Majority of the spiritual practices that are offered, and all the books that we read, they all talk about observe the breath, or try to identify what emotion you're operating from. But it's actually so easy. You just have to ask yourself, what am I feeling at all times? And then you instantly get to recognize what frequency you're in. And then you can make the conscious, empowered choice, to change it. And that's what we are looking for in the first place, like to shift to a better quality of life, or a better uh, state of emotion for that moment, probably. And that's what we mean when we say shifting the frequency, because when we actually shift the emotions, we are coming from a different frequency altogether. And when we tune into your frequency, it already has all the answers. So we are always feeling abundant. So
True.
that makes it super easy for somebody who's just trying out. You don't have
Yes.
to sit for hours of meditation, or go through a lot of restrictions, like sit in a particular place or hold a particular pose. You can simply be your own method and be your own guru.
And let me just add to that, because the whole, when people come to me, so when people come to me and they say, oh my god, we've been doing this for 20 years, and now you give us this such a beautiful process, and I say, those 20 years, that practice, every spiritual practice, every book that you went through, that is part of your journey. So don't just dump it, or like feel, oh my god, I wasted my time. No, 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 everything is just simply a part of the journey. So everything, and even as you begin this practice, it doesn't mean that you have to let go of everything that you learned. As a matter of fact, so many people come to me who are Reiki practitioners or pranic practitioners, and I say, this is an expansion of your practice. Now when you sit in the Meenal frequency and observe your breath, you will have different kind of revelations altogether. When you now do your pranic practices, your Reiki practices, but you shift your frequency to mine, and then do the same practices, you're going to find so much more freedom, you're going to find so much more joy in those practices itself. So this is not to say that you've got to leave something. No, we are expanding our awareness, we are expanding ourselves. We are not just this, not just that, we are everything. So for that reason, everything that you've been through, and now this practice is coming to you, this too is simply, just another step for you. Everything that you went through was pushing you towards finding the guru within. And this practice too is simply pushing you a little bit more, or rather holding your hand to take you there to finding your guru within. The journey for each one of us is simply that, to find our own self, to find that we are that.
Yeah.
We are everything, we are nothing, we are that. And so everything in our journey is simply a step already getting us there.
Perfect. And Kanika's journey is a testimony to that fact that she has been through so many spiritual practices, and she finally, all of those experiences led her to come into something which is now super easy, as well as it encompasses all of those experiences that she has had. So it's all in perfection, at all times.
Always.
Yes, absolutely. The most beautiful part, when I would read spiritual books years ago, everyone spoke of be a witness, be a witness. And I would be like, how? The one who's identified, the one who's feeling all of the emotions as she was, how is she supposed to witness? And what does even witnessing mean? Theoretically, we do understand that what is the dictionary definition of witness, but how do I be the witness? Those questions were not getting answered, and that's where this lady completely shifted my life.
Like she has to all of us.
She has the smallest, simplest tool to start on this journey of witnessing. It is so easy. And then the most beautiful gift is the frequency that is given to us, and how to connect to the guidance. It is so beautiful. Like, when we started the journey, we are all asking, what am I feeling? And coming back to the question that you asked, that being in the present moment, the beauty of the present moment. So for all this time, when we were sitting with the candle asking, what am I feeling? There were tons of emotions that were to be released. And now when the awareness is on the connection, and this beautiful connection with money, the present moment is pure presence.
So beautiful. So beautiful.
Beautiful. So,
Yes.
actually, it takes a lot of effort to ask questions anymore, because, I actually have to think what else can I ask? Because in this frequency, I'm already receiving all the answers even before I ask. So there's no question to begin with. So I would just like to thank you both for making time, and it's been amazing to connect with you guys. And in the future episodes, we'll also connect with more people from the MPFI family, and we'll also share with you some more amazing journeys. And if you have a question, you can comment it down below, or you may reach out to me on the email ID in the description. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks, Imran. Thanks, Kanika.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.